What is domain authority, DR, DA, all these different things that you hear when you're doing SEO? In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what all these things are and why they matter. So DR, DA, domain authority, authority score, domain rating, most of these things, when they're referred to terms like that, usually mean the same thing. And basically what that is it's a trust score calculation of how trustworthy whatever tool you're using thinks the website is according to Google. So to explain that a bit more clearly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example. So I've taken Wikipedia and I've thrown Wikipedia into SEMrush. And what it does is it gives you the authority score. Now that's the same thing as DA, domain authority, DR, domain rating, all these things. Basically all the different versions of that word or that score are just the different way the different tools call them. But they mean essentially the same thing. Now what you can do is you can see here authority score is 100 for Wikipedia, which basically means that this is the most trustworthy a site can get. Now, what you need to keep in mind about this is that this score is a calculation of this tool. So each tool has a way that it calculates these scores, and ultimately they're all very similar and they'll largely get to the same end result. But SEMrush has its own way of calculating. You might be using Ahrefs or something like that, and they'll have called, I think in Ahrefs it's called domain rating, but either way they'll have their own calculation, and then Google obviously has their own calculation, which it doesn't necessarily share with people. So these tools are just estimating what they think Google looks at and then making a score. So that's what you have to keep in mind. It's not necessarily Google's own number. It's what these tools think Google is seeing. However, largely you can estimate that they're somewhere in the correct range that counts. And you can see here, if we go deeper into this, Wikipedia has got a score of 100. So basically the higher the score is, the more trustworthy this website is, at least in Google's eyes, as it were. Now, here's the thing. How do you get it to increase for your website? The only way to get this to increase is through backlinks. So how this works is when a site that's got trust or a high authority score of its own links to another website, that website is basically saying we trust this other website to send our users to them. And so by linking to you, it's telling Google that this site that Google trusts, if they have a good score, trusts you, and so you get some of that flowing to you. That's basically the summary of it. So the only way to increase your trust score or your authority score, domain rating, whatever, is to get links from other websites that have domain authority or a high trust score, or whatever you want to call it, themselves. So the higher score they have, the more impact it's going to have on your website when they link to you. So that's why you'll see, if you try and buy backlinks, the higher the domain rating or the authority score or whatever, it's going to cost you more to get that link, typically speaking, because of this exact reason. It's going to have a higher impact for yours. So if you get, let's say for instance, like 20 websites that all have a very low authority score, like 10, versus like one website that has 100, that one website that has 100 is probably going to have a bigger impact on your website than all these little websites. Because one, it's harder to get a link on a website with a higher authority score, typically speaking. And two, it also means more coming from them. And so it's like a double whammy essentially, where it establishes a lot more trust if you can get these. So that's why people always try to go after these and get as many of these links as possible. Now, what you do have to remember is this is not necessarily an exact science. So how many websites of a certain authority score compared to like lower authority ones, how much that impacts your site, it's kind of anyone's guess, really. You kind of just want to get as many links as you can that are good, and then overall they add up and raise your authority score as a whole. But I wouldn't say it's worthwhile getting into a whole argument about, you know, how many certain sites of a lower domain authority will equal one bigger one and things like that. It's very dependent on a lot of things, because you have to take relevance of the link into account. Is that site relevant to your site, and all these other things as well, which are not really the purpose of this video, but you have to keep that in mind as well. So overall, just to summarize, basically the authority score is a calculation of how trustworthy a website is, or is estimated to be according to Google, based on these various tools, or increase your authority score by getting links from other websites, ideally that have a higher authority score themselves, which will pass some of that down to you and therefore raise yours over time as you get more of these links. So that's basically how that works. Now, just one quick thing as well before I end the video. You can see here in SEMrush, and most of these tools have this as well, you can see the domain ranking here. This basically means it's a ranking of like all websites on the planet, and if you click this, you'll get a list of like every domain that SEMrush has that they've put into a ranking order. It's just an interesting little thing to see. You can see Wikipedia is at the top, so SEMrush considers Wikipedia to be the highest ranked website on the internet. Then you got YouTube, Twitter, Amazon, and so on. So you could just go down this list and see see who's here. And every website will have this. You can see there's 401,000 websites here. Usually if you throw your website in, it'll also give you a ranking somewhere on this list as well. So I'll just throw mine in just to show you an example of that. You can see here on my website, it's saying that I'm ranked 7 million. So it's actually got more than the 400,000, but there you go. You can see that there. So that's basically it. That's really all you need to know for authority score. It's basically just a way for these tools to say how strong your website is, basically according to the backlinks you have. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you'd like me to coach you on how to do SEO or Google ads for only $49 a month, go to learndominatemarketing.com. And if you'd like us to do the SEO or Google ads for your website, go to dominatemarketing.io, book a call with us there. Catch you on the next one.